Get started. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming to this event. We're gonna have we have special guests today. We have very good speakers, and the goal for this event, that I put the purpose up here, is to provide you all an opportunity to learn, network, and engage with Coastline alumni and professionals in the field of business and entrepreneurship. The workforce is it's a tough world out there. So with your education, in addition to networking and the people that you meet along the way, is really gonna go a long way. So this event is really gonna be an opportunity for you to do that. So just a quick run through of the day before we move on. There's gonna be a $20 Amazon gift card opportunity drawing if you do the survey at the end. So right now we're gonna do the introduction for our event organizers, and then we're gonna have our president, Dr. Vince Rodriguez, give a few words for us. We're going to have our keynote speaker, Dr. Kevin J. Fleming, later on. We're going to have a 5-minute break so everyone could stretch because people are probably zoomed out, right, by then. And we're going to have Professor Erdkamp do the Coastline alumni panel with our Coastline alumni. We're going to have a 10-minute break, and then we're going to have breakout rooms. We'll create different breakout rooms where you all get to decide which room you'd like to go to, with these different individuals from different concentrations in business. So we're gonna have 2 sets of that, 5-minute break, and at the end, the last 20 minutes, we're gonna open it up for resources. I'll open it up to six breakout rooms where you all can decide which one you'd like to go to, and we'll go through this one by one later on. Okay. So right now, let's go ahead and introduce our event organizers, and let's go in order.
Well, if we're going in order, then Paulo needs to go first because he did most of the work to prepare this event.
Well, it's all thanks to faculty. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Paulo Orquez. I'm the Career Services Specialist, and I'm also a Career Education Counselor here at Coastline. Next up.
And Paulo does specific career counseling for business and accounting students Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 7. So he works around your schedule. Mm-hmm. So make an appointment with him if you'd like to review your ed plan, talk about career options. If some of you are indicating that you're really new to all of this, he can help you make sure that you're choosing the right academic path in order to meet your career goals. I'm Erin Thomas. I'm business faculty here. I've been teaching for about 12 years. I came from industry. I spent most of my career prior to teaching working at Qualcomm. Started as a database administrator, moved up into the business world, doing international customer support for the company.
Thanks, Erin. I'm Kevin Erdkamp. I'm a licensed certified public accountant. I have worked my way up through the ranks in accounting at various certified public accounting firms, private industry, and I've been teaching here at Coastline full-time since 2013, and I'll pass it over to Stacy.
Hi, everyone. My name's Stacy Smith. I mostly teach economics, some business courses as well. My industry background is in commercial real estate and management. And it's awesome to see some of my current students here. And those of you who haven't been my students yet, hope to see you soon. Econ is a big part of the business program.
And my name is Dr. Aaron Setner. I'm the dean that oversees institutional effectiveness, which is an umbrella of research analytics, planning, grant development, a lot of innovation, accessibility, accreditation. In addition, I've been teaching for 5 years. I teach business law, data analytics, programming. I teach at Coastline. I also teach at UC San Diego. My background is similar to Dr. Rodriguez, first generation college student, 2 masters and a doctorate in business administration. My experience in private industry is overseeing a national level business for about 7 years, in addition to working through higher education, not just as a researcher, planner, as a consultant as well, and a published author for Sage Publications and editor-in-chief for national and international books that they're everywhere for data analytics.
I'd like to welcome our special guest, Dr. Rodriguez. He is the president of Coastline College, and you can see his bio there. What's really impressive about him is he's been both a student and an employee at the college, student of the college system, and he brings some new vision and new ideas for us as a college, and we're really excited to have him here. Thank you for taking the time to be with us this morning, Dr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. And first off, I want to thank everyone for being here. Students taking time out of your day to be here. I think you'll learn a lot from all the panelists and from each other. One of the things I remember from teaching is that I was learning from the students as I was also teaching. And it's always a great experience to see all the different ways we can learn. I appreciate everyone that's here, the panelists, the faculty, the students, and I also noticed our student trustee Roy is here. So Roy, nice to see you participating in the panel. So I'll share a little bit. First off, I think there's an opportunity and an advantage to be in a community college, because in the community college, we don't focus on the research and have student assistants that are teaching the classes. We have people, you heard from everyone, they're practitioners. They used to work in those industries, are still related in many of those industries. So you're learning from people that were in the ground, in those business environments. So you learn so much from them in these classes. Also, that we work a lot with our industry partners. So all the faculty that you were just hearing from are working with people that are still in the industry and working together on practical experience that they'll help you with. And I appreciate right now there's a big focus on how do we get more students in apprenticeships and job training programs and the like that I think benefit you much more than might be if you're at a traditional college. So I think there's a huge advantage there. As they mentioned, I was like you. I was a community college student. I started out of high school, didn't do well the first time through, and came back some 20 years later and ended up finally completing my degrees and working through my education. But I'm going to share a story with you. When I first joined community college and started as a student, one of the classes that was the most important, ironically enough, was the accounting instructor that I have, because that accounting instructor taught me how to manage money, how to manage my checkbook. At that time, it was a completely different banking environment and how you were supposed to present your checks to the bank. You had them in a certain order. There was always a certain way. Right now, we just shove them in the ATM and you just verify the number and you're gone and you're done. But there was so much I learned because that instructor was very much like Kevin here and Aaron and Stacy. They were practitioners that taught us practical skills and real life skills. And I hope you are lucky enough to experience the same with those faculty that are here at Coastline. I know they have a lot to bring. And I just want to say thank you for being here today. I hope you have a great day. I have a busy schedule, but I'll probably pop in and out. So if you see me in there, I'll probably be trying to listen and take advantage of as much as I can, because I can learn from this also as I'm working with our industry partners on our foundation and others. So with that, I'm going to stop here. Hope you have a great day. I'll stay on as long as I can. There he is. There's Roy. Nice to see Roy's face there, Roy. Our student trustee. He spends a lot of time advocating for all the students across the entire district and for Coastline. And I want to give him a special shout out and thank you for being here.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Dr. Rodriguez. Okay. All right. So our morning speaker, Dr. Fleming, are you here? Just making sure.
He's here.
I am here. Good morning.
Okay, I'm trying to find him on Zoom here. Oh, there you go. Let me pin you. There you go. All right. So let me introduce him really quickly. So Dr. Jay Fleming, he's currently the planning and development he's the VP for Norco College, which is a community college in Riverside. And he's previously supported over 40 CTE programs. So he's definitely an advocate for career education and career development. And it's super exciting to find someone with similar kind of mindset out there. So he's also a faculty member, national speaker. So I'm not going to read this whole list, but he's a superstar. He's going to share a story. I know I've seen some of his videos. His videos are great, by the way. So just some of his educational background. He has 2 bachelor's degree from LMU, psychology and philosophy, a master's of arts in Ohio State University, and ed policy and leadership, an MBA from University of Redlands, and a PhD in education from Claremont University. However, and he will share this later, his CTE industry certification in geographical information systems was really the the certificate that really pushed him forward. And a lot of his philosophies align to that today. Dr. Fleming?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to ask you just to confirm you see the right one, because I got double monitors. Do you see the full slide or my email? You see full slide? Okay, thanks, Stacey.
Full slide.
Thank you, Aaron. I always got to do the tech check, because every once in a while, Zoom gremlin does a little something funny. Thanks for having me this morning. I want to run through a few things. Firstly, as Aaron mentioned, and all the faculty mentioned, we all have a background in private sector, and I'm no different. And I think maybe that's why part was the invitation. I've started 4 private sector companies, all while pursuing a career in higher education as well. A quick shout out, by the way, Aaron, I like Data and Donuts. Have to make sure to mention that since you're on the presentation today, like your podcast. So my background, I was involved in a durable goods manufacturing company. I then started a service-based business here in LA County. I then started a consulting and really geospatial technology, service type of technology business. 4th was a educational career planning technology company. And 5th, I'm actually launching a speakers bureau as part of my national consultancy. All the side of doing all that, I've written 4 books. I have some real estate investments. So you should always have 4 streams of income, right? So I always got the side hustle. Sometimes the side hustle becomes the main hustle. So I want to walk through a few things today. I made a few mistakes. I managed to learn a few things. I have very short remarks today, but I'm titling it Redefining the Goal, because I think we do cognitively have to redefine the goal for ourselves as those of you presumably want to go into business for yourself or with others and frankly crush it. We have to kind of redefine how we use our time and what the goal is in our pursuit. So let me dive in real quick. So, a lot of us pursue higher education because we've seen charts like this. This shows education earnings on one axis, educational level on the other, educational level on one axis, earnings on the other. It shows the median annual earnings, and you see this implied stair-step correlation. Well, a lot of parents, students, counselors, policymakers see charts like this and say, thusly, the more education you get, the more money you'll make. That's the result or the implied relationship. But this is the old chart. I want to show you the new chart that shows for the first time in America, you can expect to earn less if you get a master's degree than a bachelor's degree. And that's something we don't talk an awful lot about. Why? Well, because frankly, a lot of these folks like myself end up getting the piece of paper without skills or the alignment of that paper with who they are and what the business opportunities are. So let me dive in for a minute, because none of us are average. You are not average. You are exceptional. There are some things you do phenomenally well, and there's some things you suck at, right? That's how this whole human being thing works. And so part of the secret sauce, and what I'm so glad to see you guys are talking about, is how do you find that perfect alignment then between the academic knowledge, the technical skills, the employability skills, and the alignment of who you are. Now, there was thank you for the brief introduction there, but I wanted to dive in a little bit of my story. I'm a first generation college student, like many of you. My parents didn't go to college. I'm thankful and blessed to have had a mom and dad that raised me, but they didn't know how to help me navigate higher education. I didn't even know there's a difference between 2-year and 4-year and in-state and out-of-state and public and private. All I knew is that education counts. So I went to Loyola Marymount University, which is a small private Jesuit liberal arts institution. And the only reason I went there for my undergraduate was because my dad's friend went there. That was the exhaustiveness of my college prep timeline. I augmented my baccalaureate degree at Moore Park Community College and at CSUN in Northridge, because I thought if one degree is good, 2 must be better. So as you heard, I got 2 baccalaureate degrees in psychology and philosophy. I then, after I graduated, looked at the workforce and then said, what job can I get with those? Well, I didn't want to get my PsyD and I didn't want to be a therapist. So I tried to get a job at the philosophy company. Yeah, that didn't work out so well. It doesn't exist, right? So I realized the hard way, there is a huge disconnect oftentimes between the world of school and the world of work. And I had never even had this conversation. I never had until I was already had my baccalaureate degree and a pile of student loan debt in hand. So I did what any student would do that's 21 with no employability skills. I went on to school. So I got a master's degree in educational policy and leadership. It's a fancy title for getting a degree in how to work at a school. I then returned to Southern California, working at University of Redlands, where I got interested in the business side of school. And yes, higher education is a business. We have profit and loss statements. We have investments. We have payroll. We have, frankly, more lobbyists inside the Washington, D.C. Beltway than pharmaceutical companies and high finance. That's a different bunny trail of a story we can get into. But I got interested in the business side of higher ed. I went back and got my MBA at night, and I didn't understand at that time really what I was doing. I just knew, well, I'm interested in business. I learned for the first time a little bit about finances and human resources and marketing, and it was a good survey degree. But I found myself, if I can just be totally honest with you, I found myself overeducated and underemployed. One day I'm in my apartment at Redlands and I'm looking up at my wall at these 4 beautiful frames with degrees in it. I got the expensive mahogany frames at the bookstore with the gold seal, you know, the ones I'm talking about. And I was so proud of my 2 bachelor's degrees and my 2 master's degrees. But then I looked down at the pile of bills I could not afford to pay because my Sallie Mae debt was over $682 a month. And I literally was underemployed. I was employed. I was not unemployed. I was underemployed, not commanding the wage one should think they would earn with 4 degrees on the wall. And I found myself, again, I felt screwed. I did what society told me to do. I did what my parents told me to do. I did what the educational sector told me to do, but I wasn't gainfully employed. I then went back, as you heard in the interview, I then got my technical certification, my industry credential, and I learned a skill. It was this skill that, if you're not familiar with ESRI, they're here in Redlands. ESRI is to digital map making, like Microsoft is the word processing. And I learned how to make digital maps. I learned digital cartography as a skill. And that 40-hour industry credential, coupled with my general education and MBA, combined is what lifted me out of working poverty. One without the other is insufficient. If I just got the industry credential, without the rigorous academic training, I would not have been employable. If I just had the general education and MBA without technical skills, I would not be employable. The secret is you need both. And I learned the hard way that. And so then I discovering this whole world of career education and CDE and living through the misalignment of my own life, I then went back and got my PhD, and my dissertation was on career and technical education program viability and how we can ensure that the training, the programs you get, that you're getting now, are actually aligned with industry needs so you can make a living wage. See, this belief that you're going to make more money with more pieces of paper didn't work for me. I'm not the median. I'm a 3-dimensional human being with gifts and deficiencies just like you. I found myself over $250,000 in student loan debt because I did not understand compounding interest and finance or how to leverage education. I was not as smart as you. I didn't know the benefits, frankly, of going to a community college and getting the same education, if not better, smaller classes, more caring faculty than often at some large universities. And I was only making $36,000 a year. I missed the day in class when they talked about the goal being high earnings, low debt. I did it backwards. So I want to help you be good consumers of your higher education choices, and you've already made a better first step than I. But what I learned is that graduation is a milestone, but it is not the destination. And you cannot misperceive commencement day as being the goal. It is not. Your goal exists when you're out into the workforce and you start your own business or you work for another company and you crush it and you make a difference, you make an impact, you make wages, you can provide for your family. But most importantly, you're making a difference. And I didn't know that. I was falsely taught that the goal is just graduation, and then the world would line up and give me a corner office and a company car and a credit card on the company dime, and that didn't happen. A couple years ago at Norco College, it was commencement day, and there's a lot of students walking around in their square mortarboard hats and their robes, and everyone's happy and proud. And I was walking down our main corridor here at the college, and I saw a student sitting by himself, looking kind of melancholy. And I went over and engaged him, and I found out he was graduating that day with his 2-year degree in accounting. Can't make this up. I'm talking to him. His name was Jeff, and I started talking to him, and he was sad. And I realized after a few minutes of conversation that he didn't really like computers and staring at a screen, and he didn't really like to interact with people. So of course I leaned in and I said, "And Jeff, why'd you get a 2-year degree in accounting? Like, you know what this field's about, right?" Well, I learned quickly that when he first came to Norco College, he saw a poster at the Career Center that had the average wages for all these different occupations aligned with the programs of study that we provided at the college. He saw that the average wage from accountant was $72,000. He wanted to make $72,000, so he decided to declare a degree in accounting, and he went through his coursework getting C's and some B's. I didn't want to crush his confidence or rain on his parade on commencement day, but I did talk with him about the fact that, look, if there's no minimum wage for professional occupations, but there's a wage range. And I learned very quickly he didn't know that. See, and it took me, I paused for a minute, it took me aback. But I realized that, a lot of our students and our children and our residents, if they only have minimum wage jobs and they're working through at Subway or McDonald's or Amazon or others, unless someone tells them this, they didn't know. And Jeff didn't know there was wage ranges. He thought that every single accountant made $72,000 in the Southern California region. He thought that was the wage for being an accountant. And all he had to do was get the piece of paper and he would make $72,000. So I started talking to him about all the other variables that go into receiving a high wage in the world of business. And let me share with you one chart. And this literally changed my life. And I don't say that lightly. They had me read this in grad school. You read all kinds of esoteric stuff in grad school, all kinds of weird, random factoids of knowledge. This comes from the College Board. Those are the SAT people. This is called a whisker plot or a spider plot. I guess if you turn your head on the side, it looks like whiskers of a cat. It shows the median and the 25th and 75th percentile. Now, for those of you who woke up this morning and said, man, I really hope we get to talk about wage ranges, well, then this is for you. This is a national statistic that shows you have females on the left, males on the right. You have earnings and education on the two axes. In this particular data chart, it's only the full-time, year-round workers ages 25 and older in America. So what that means is this is the full-time labor force. They took out anyone that was a university student or a part-time college student or anyone that was just seasonally working at Amazon. They're not part of this particular slice. These are the salaried workers. And here's what was fascinating to me the first time I saw this. Firstly, was the fact that there's no just standard wages, but at every single level, no matter who you are, there's a range, which begs the question, well, how do I get at one end of the range or the other? When I first saw this, what also popped out at me is the gender disparity we still have in earnings in this country that we need to continue to discuss, that we don't have equal pay for equal work. And it's not because of the work or the individual. It's really about the majors that a lot of individuals choose early on, but that's another presentation. As a selfish, narcissistic human being, as we all are, the first thing I did also is I looked at, well, where do I fall on this chart? Some of you might have already found as I'm talking to you about where you fall on this chart. That's how this human being thing works, right? When I first saw this chart, I was in the bottom right triangle of the chart. I was a male, still am, had 4 degrees at the time. So I was earning under the $63,500 chart, the light blue bar there for males with a master's degree. But at the time, adjusted for inflation, I was only making about $54,000 a year. I was under the light blue bar. No one aspires to be working poor. I didn't. I've never heard anybody say, I really want to work and be under the median wage. No. And you're not in this field because you want to be working poor. I'm quite certain we all want to be where? Above the orange box. In fact, we all want to be above the dark blue bar. That's what I really want to talk to you about this morning. If you go on and get your 2-year degree, and when, not if, but when you graduate from Coastline, you can expect to earn in this country between $30,000 and $78,000 a year. Now let's pause for a minute. That is a pretty big range. If you look at the bottom of the range for females, top of the range for males, you get that average. That's a big range for getting the quote unquote same degree. Why? Because not all degrees are equal. Compare that to baccalaureate earners. If you go on and get your 4-year degree, you can expect to earn between $40,000 and $110,000 a year, a slightly elevated scale, but it's still a big scale for getting the same degree because it's not all about the piece of paper, at least not alone. The paper is necessary, but insufficient. Here's my aha moment. Lean in for this. Ready? Here's my aha moment. These ranges that I put on top of the slide in red for you, it's not the whole workforce. It's the middle 50%, which means if you graduate from Coastline and you get your associate's degree and you are good at what you do, 25% of you will earn more than $78,000. If you go on to a 4-year institution and you get a degree in philosophy or business, or you're mediocre in what you do, 25% of baccalaureate earners will earn less than $40,000. No one ever talked to me about that. I thought there was this implied general correlation that the more education you get, the more money you're going to make. No, that's just one of many variables. There's a couple other pieces to this puzzle. As part of my story, that industry credential was invaluable. I circled for you here on the bottom right. The Department of Labor has this category called some college, no degree. That's those of us that get that industry credential. It could be a Certiport credential in QuickBooks. It could be Adobe, it could be Microsoft, it could be GIS. When you get that industry credential, 25% of you can expect to earn more than $76,000, whereas just with a bachelor's degree without the credential, 25% of earners will earn less than 50 grand. I want you above the blue bar. You have to understand that the degree is important, but not enough. And I don't want to be misperceived, so I keep saying this. Formal education is imperative. You must complete, especially if you're going to be successful in this field. But the diploma and the degree is insufficient. It is unapplied or disconnected. My undergraduate education was completely disconnected from the world of work. I didn't have relevant work-based learning. I didn't understand how the skills I was learning in academia would actually be applied in the real world. And it was actually after starting my second business that I finally understood business, that the classroom information is helpful and imperative, and you get great insights, but we learn by doing. What I've learned is that education counts, but skills count more. So I want to encourage you today, yes, get the paper. Yes, get your 2-year degree. Yes, consider transferring. But you have to understand, what are the skills you're going to have? No one will pay you to write a great 5-paragraph essay or just to analyze a statement and write a summary. You have to be able to do something, right? So I want to give you two real takeaways today. Just two main things that I want you to tactically be able to implement starting tomorrow. The first is this secret that I learned years ago that a lot of people don't know about, how to really get a competitive advantage after graduation. And it's a simple thing. It's called an informational interview, but most haven't heard of it. Let me explain to you very briefly what it is. If you want to pursue a career in business, in accounting, in marketing, in finance, what I want you to do is, before Christmas, before Hanukkah, this fall, I want you to call 5 professionals that are doing a similar job you think you may want to do. And if you don't know what you want to do, then that's okay. Call 5 professionals. Maybe you call one mobile app developer, maybe one chief business officer, maybe one person that's involved in search engine optimization, maybe someone that's an entrepreneur that started their own business, maybe someone that's in industrial organizational consulting. Fine. Pick 5 people. Here's what you do. You either reach out to them on LinkedIn, or you email them, or you call them, doesn't matter. And you basically just say, hey, my name's Kevin. I'm a student at Coastline. I'm really interested in maybe pursuing a similar fields as you. Can I buy you a $1 iced tea at McDonald's if you're in the area, or a 20-minute Zoom? And can I just interview you because I'm interested in learning about your craft? That's just a real simple pitch. You can Google this, by the way. I didn't invent this. You can Google this and find all kinds of scripts to use. And here's a psychological ploy you're going to use. What's everybody's favorite topic to discuss? Themselves. So 9 out of 10 people you reach out to are going to say yes. They're going to say to themselves, firstly, who's the smart, gregarious go-getter from Coastline that wants to learn from my experience? And absolutely, they will want to share with you what they've learned, because very few times does this occur. Ask some of your professors and your family members and your adults. Very few people reach out and do this. So they will be humbled that you will be reaching out to them for their expertise. And 9 out of 10 will say yes. And then here's what you do when you meet with them. In person or virtual, you're just going to ask them 5 easy questions. You're going to first ask them, what do you do? I think I know what you do as a mobile app developer. I think I know what you do when you're doing SEO optimization, but what is it that you really do? Then you ask them, what do you love about what you do? And what do you dislike about what you do? Because not everything is perfect, right? There's always an underbelly to every job. So you want to understand completely, holistically, what they love and don't love about what they do. Fourthly, you're going to ask, how did you get there? What was your path? And lastly, you're going to ask them, what advice would you give me if I want to pursue this? Those 5 questions are gold. And if you do this 5 times, you are going to very quickly, first of all, you're gaining your personal and professional network. You're getting some information and some knowledge about different career possibilities. You're going to either verify what you think is a good career choice, or you're going to cross it off your list and say, nope, I don't want to do this. I worked with a student recently that thought she wanted to be a veterinarian. She did 5 informational interviews and then realized she does not want to be a veterinarian. She thought it was all, kittens. She doesn't want to put her hand in some places in the back of a cow or a horse. And she realized, okay, this is not what I thought it was going to be. I encourage you to do 5 of these. When I was promoted from a dean to a vice president 3 years ago, I did informational interviews. This is not just something you do once to make your initial career declaration. This is what you continue to do to stay sharp and stay evolved. So that's one takeaway I want you to be able to take and implement. And this doesn't have to be a class requirement, although faculty, you may want to consider adding this. But for yourself as an individual, just do this on your own, right? Take control of your own destiny. And if you do this, I've seen students do 20 or 30 of these. And what you're doing is you're psychologically getting this professional to invest in you. Well, they want to be successful. And if they invested time in you, then they want to see you successful, because then your success is their success. Your failures become their failures. You are psychologically tricking them to be part of your personal board of directors. And I have seen time and time again, then after you do these, those professionals, when they have an opportunity, when they have an internship, when they have an entry-level job opening, if they have an extra ticket to the conference, whatever they may have, they're going to pull out the handwritten thank you note from their top desk drawer that you will write and mail them with a stamp. And they will remember you and contact you and give you the opportunity. That's how you start building those professional networks. The last thing I really want to touch on this morning is to learn from some of my mistakes. And I want to give you, it's not even a secret so much, it's just not really discussed, but I want to give you the roadmap, the blueprint, so how you can ensure that you maximize your time at Coastline and you don't make missteps with your career or your education, as I have done. So here's the things I want you to think about and look at. The first thing I want you to write down on a piece of paper, I want you to write down all the things that you love. What are the things you love? What are the things that makes your heart sing, that makes you happy? What's the content areas to read about you like? What are the activities or the hobbies you love to do? What's the different fields you just get engrossed in? What if time and money was not a constraint, what would you do on the weekends? I want you to write a list of those things. Then I want you to write a list on your paper of what the world needs. What are the problems the world has that they're seeking solutions for? And I want you to write those things down, and I want you to identify the overlap. There's going to be some things you love. I love to play rock band. The world doesn't need me to play rock band. So that goes in one column, but not necessarily the other. The world has a lot of social justice problems. That's going to go in one column. You're going to list all the things, then identify the things that are in both columns. And those are the things that might be your personal mission in life. Now, if you haven't done this already in one of your classes, let me implore upon you to write your own personal mission statement. Every company has a mission statement. Coastline has a mission statement. You need to have a mission statement for you. I have mine. You need to have your own mission statement and vision statement for you, regardless of what career you're in, who you work for, or what your job title is. You need a North Star that helps orient you in your compass, that makes sure no matter what you do or where you go, initially or eventually, you want to be focused on that long-term mission. Thirdly, on your paper, but I want you to literally write down, and writing it down is important, not just thinking about it. I want you to write down what are all the things you can get paid for. Here's where we start talking about the labor market realities, looking at the wage ranges and making sure you don't fall below in the working poor, but that you're above that dark blue line. I want you to look at the wage ranges for the different positions you think you might be interested in. And if you find something you can get paid to do and the world needs it, well, that's your vocation. You'll notice there's a sweet spot here right in the middle that overlaps with all three. If you find something there that you love and the world needs it and you can get paid for, well, that's when you might find a pretty healthy sense of excitement, maybe some complacency, but you'll also have a sense of uncertainty. I found myself there years ago. I was working for Countrywide Home Loans. A company no longer exists. I was in the foreclosure department, in the filing room. Why? Because I missed this fourth quadrant of this Venn diagram. There's a fourth component to that, and that's really realizing and writing down what you're great at. This requires some humility. It requires some self-reflection, maybe a little meditation, but to be brave enough to write down the things you're good at and the things you suck at. You're going to be good at a lot of things. You're going to be mediocre at more things, but you're only going to be great at a few things. And you need to find what those few things are. And then you start to flush this out. See, if you're great at something, you can get paid for it. That's your profession. If you're great at something and you love it, that's where you put your effort. And see, the more you do something, the better you get at it, right? We know that. We typically avoid things we suck at. Golf is an example for me. I'm not great at golf. Thus, I don't love golf. And thus, I don't do it more. Thus, I don't get better at it. Thus, I don't love it. It's a cycle. But things you're great at, you do more, you get better at it. You love it more, you even get better at it. And eventually, wherever you put your effort grows into developing a passion. I hate the phrase follow your passion because that's actually a faulty advice. Passion doesn't come first. You can't follow something you don't have. Instead, you should follow your effort. Passion grows and is a result of a lot of effort in something you love that you become great at. If you're great at something, it solves a problem the world has and you can get paid for it. That's when you might be comfortable, but you're not doing what you love. So you'll have a feeling of emptiness. If you find something you love and you're great at and you get paid for it, well, that's when you'll be satisfied in your career, but you have a feeling of uselessness because you're just moving the paper from the inbox to the outbox and you're not actually solving a problem the world needs. If you find a profession you're great at and you love when the world needs it, but you can't get paid for it, you'll find delight and fullness. But this is the starving artist analogy where you'll find no wealth. And while I don't know you, I'm guessing you're in an accounting and a business program, you're involved in this platform. You probably want to also be happy and wealthy. In fact, what I think you want is right here in the bullseye. What Jim Collins, the great author of books like Good to Great and Built to Last, he calls this center point the hedgehog. The ideal scenario is to find the few things, and there'll be more than one, but there won't be 100. The few things that meet right in the middle of this for you, and everyone's plan is going to be a little different. There's a word for this. The Japanese, in fact, call this one's ikigai. It's that thing that gets you up in the morning. It's the thing that gives you zeal and excitement. It's a thing that creates fire in your belly, that creates that intrinsic motivation. We might falsely translate it in America as being purpose, but it's a little bit more than that. And right now, as you're going to Coastline, my encouragement to you is, we have a system that typically is focused on commencement. We have a system that's focused on transfer. Well-intended, but misaligned. We have a system that it's course-driven, it's degree-driven, it's transfer-driven, it's not purpose-driven. What you need to create for yourself is to recognize you need a purpose-driven educational plan for you. It may include courses, it may include a degree, it may include transfer, but it also needs to include industry credentials. It also needs to include informational interviews. It also needs to include some not-for-credit training, maybe a Stephen Covey training seminar on time management. Maybe you need to take an industry credentialing program on LinkedIn Learning on project management. That may or may not be part of your official courses in the college, but you need to identify how do you fulfill your purpose. And it will include your degree and your course at Coastline, but it'll also include a lot more outside of that. So you need to create that for yourself. I promised I would keep my comments brief, but I also promised the panel that I would leave a few minutes for Q&A. By the way, I do have a lot of animated videos on my YouTube channel. I do have a monthly newsletter. If any of this entices you, and of course, it's at the tip of the iceberg, I would invite you just to sign up for my newsletter on my website. I also I'm on LinkedIn heavily. I encourage you to create your LinkedIn profile if you haven't already and connect with me. And I look forward to doing a few Q&A now as time permits. I think we've got a few minutes, but then also carrying it on after today if there's anything I can do to answer for you or just to be a sounding board for you, or to be helpful as you continue your journey. So I'll pause there and open it up.
Thank you, Dr. Fleming. We do have some great questions in the chat. The first one is, you mentioned you went to LMU based on your dad's friend, but what are recommendations on how to prepare/plan for choosing a college to attend?
Yeah, great question. So you want to reverse engineer that. The wrong question is where to go to college. That's the wrong question to first ask. The right first question is where do you want to be? What's the career trajectory? What's your initial or eventual career goal? Given that, what's the education and training you need to secure that position? Then given that, what are the opportunities, the education, the training programs that you can then avail yourself to get the skills and knowledge you need to then get the position you need? And it might be then a local institution. You also have to reflect on yourself, knowing that there's 2-year and 4-year, there's in-state, there's out-of-state, there's public, there's private, there's large and there's small. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a great book called Outliers, where he identifies for some, it's actually better to be the big fish in the little pond than to go to Harvard and be the small fish in a big pond and be completely lost. And that requires some self-reflection of really understanding just your learning style and who you are. Do you want to go to an online institution like Western Governors University because you have a family and you need to work full time? Or do you want the residential liberal arts experience? And do you want to join a sorority and a fraternity and live in the residence hall? Those are different questions that's going to really dictate then where you go. What I will share with you, and this may seem counterintuitive for a college vice president to say, but it really doesn't matter where you go. In this state in particular, we have a lot of great options. It really doesn't matter where you go. Either you go to the top 10, like if you go to Harvard or Wharton and Brown, yeah, that might matter. But if you go to Fullerton or Redlands or Santa Barbara or UCLA or Pepperdine or Arizona State, it doesn't really matter. What's more important is what you learn. What I would encourage you to do is look at the roster of the faculty at the institution you want to go to and look what their expertise is and what their research interests are, see what their business, private sector experience is, and look, are those the people who you want to be mentored by? It's more important about who you learn from and what you learn than where you go. No one has ever asked me, where did you go to school? And they certainly has never asked me what my GPA was, because no one cares. But they ask you, what can you do? And what can you do well? And that's far more important. So I would encourage you to first do some reflection about where you want to go. What do you need to learn? Look at the people that'll be teaching you and mentoring you and decide if those are the people in the direction that you want to go towards. I've seen a lot of folks go to a program because of a prestigious name on the institution, but then the individual in the department had a totally different focus than they wanted to. You may really want to go into real estate. Well, then you want to make sure, if you want to be a real estate tycoon and if you want to own multiple apartment complex and understand how to leverage that in different markets, then you want to make sure you go to a business school that has some faculty that have expertise in that have actually done that, so you can learn from them, as one example.
Got a couple more great questions. Thank you, Doctor. Next one is, would you suggest to intern to gain experience? Does interning or volunteering in a field you want to go and boost after education income potentially? That's the question.
Yes, the more experience you get, the better. People don't care about the transcript. I hate to say that. They want to know what you can do. So the more experience you can get and the more broad the experience early, the better. It doesn't matter if it's paid or if it's volunteer. You just need to get your hands dirty and dive in. That's how we learn, right? That's the old apprenticeship model. It's been around 2,000 years. It's learned by doing. You've got to go out and do it. And if you need to work part-time, I would encourage you, try to get a job part-time in your desired field of study instead of Subway. Nothing wrong with Subway sandwiches or Starbucks or something like that. But I'd much rather you get your California tax accounting certification and go work in H&R Block if you want to go in accounting and do that part-time, right? So, I mean, I would much encourage you. Absolutely, work experience helps. Absolutely, that's one of there's two variables that correlate in the research for high earnings, and it's work experience and literacy. Frankly, the more well-read you are and the more work experience you have, those are the only two proven variables that we have control over that is going to propel you and project, and if not define, how much earnings you're going to make in the future. So definitely work experience early and often and very relevant.